All right, Shalom. We'll start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawashi, Yahawashi, Rawchaa, Qadash. Double honors to my elder apostles and my elders at Greatmillstone, GMS. Peace and blessings unto the elect of the nation of Israel. All right, this is the brother Atazaria from GMS Houston. And I just wanted to get into this lesson real quick. I was checking out this article from the New York Times, and I'm gonna read the head, and it says, "Why a sea dispute has Somalia and Kenya on edge." All right, so the United Nations top court largely sided with Somalia over Kenya on Tuesday in a dispute over how to, split a disputed area in the Indian Ocean, which is rich in natural resources. Okay. Now, in the article, it says the judgment of the International Court of Justice in The Hague, Hague on Tuesday, caped a years-long, oft-delayed case that had strained relations between the neighboring countries in a strategically vital horn of Africa. All right, while the court handed most of the disputed territory to Somalia, it also shifted part of the border north by a bit in line with Kenya's demand. All right, even before the court issued a ruling, this is a point I want to get to. All right, it says Kenya withdrew from the case. All right, Kenya withdrew from the case between them and Somalia, all right, over this disputed territory. All right, it says, saying it would not recognize any judgment. The court's rulings are binding but unforeseeable, and many other countries have chosen to ignore them. But this dispute, expert says, threatens to inject another note of uncertainty in a region already hobbled by terrorism, internal conflict, and widespread instability. All right. So Kenya withdrew from the case, saying it wouldn't recognize any judgment. All right. Now, when I heard this on the radio, the guy that was giving the report, he made a comparison with this and the story, which I'm gonna bring out not the story, but the account that took place in 1 Kings, the 3rd chapter, between the two harlots and King Solomon giving the judgment. All right, when he said that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. See, Kenya is like the harlot that the son really belonged to. Okay, so they withdrew, like, this is ours. You know, we not here to split nothing. We not here to, negotiate nothing. This belongs to us. Okay, whereas Somalia took the ruling and was just happy to get whatever they could get, which showed they would have been in comparison to the other harlot, which I'm going to read that account. All right, but before I get that account, I want to bring out a scripture in the book of St. Matthew. All right, and this is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 6, because this is also prophecy. Okay, so we're going to knock out 2 points in this lesson, Lord willing, and Lord willing it'll be edifying. So this is St. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." Okay, so this is a rumor of wars, because look, it's gonna create more already hobbled by terrorism, internal conflict, and widespread instability. It's gonna be more conflict. Okay, in this region of the earth. All right, so St. Matthew 24 and 6, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass." Okay, which they're coming to pass. And these things have always been, but never on the scale that we're seeing them on today. Okay, it says, and this is the point, but the end is not yet, because what has to happen before the end comes? The Karakma, man. Okay, The charagma has to be the hour of temptation. This has to be fully implemented in the whole earth, okay? Which is why this thing that's going on right now, and we all know what I'm talking about when I say this thing and the Beetlejuice, you know, it has to be a global thing, okay? Which it is a global thing that is taking place, okay? So it says, but the end is not yet, because that charagma has to come, okay? But these are the things that we should be looking for here before the end, all right? And as I said, yes, there's always been these things, but never on the scale that we see today, okay? It says, St. Matthew 24:7, it says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. All right, that's what we're seeing. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. We are definitely seeing that on a more large scale. There are pestilences, all right, there are plagues, okay, things that are disrupting the way the normal life, okay, pestilences, okay. There are famines going on right now. You know, just because it's not in the news, you know, don't mean that it's not taking place. Okay? You got uproars of people all across the world. I had sent an article to brothers this morning that I pulled up on YouTube. Matter of fact, let me see, can I pull it up real quick? YOU. There. It should be in my history. Let me see. Alright, let me get this off the screen. History. Yeah, it's from the Hill. Okay, violent protests show the world is over the mandates. I'm gonna just say that. Okay. It says, Kim Iverson details the protests against the juice mandates taking place worldwide. All right, Rising is a weekday morning show with Bob. Okay, anyway, but it showed these protests that are taking place all over the world behind these mandates that are not being pushed through the mainstream media. Okay, so people are protesting. There are uproars all over the planet. She said in this report, some places is thousands and thousands of people that are protesting in these countries. Italy, Spain, France, you know, etc. All right. Oh man, look at what's going on in Australia, you know. And these things are not being, you know, pushed because they don't want that to be part of the narrative, which is controlled by the elites, all right? Ultimately, the elite, well, ultimately, Yahawashi using the elites, all right? I was checking out an article called, matter of fact, let me see, can I pull it up? Operation Mockingbird. See if it'll even come ad is. And for any brother or sister that may be catching this electronic epistle, check that out. All right, the social media operation that divided Americans, covert operations, how the CIA works with Hollywood, and that was from 3 years from Al Jazeera. The first one was from PBS, you know, public broadcasting. Operation Mockingbird was a secret campaign by the United States Central Intelligence Agency to influence the media. All right.
Operation.
I don't want to get all of that, but I just wanted to see what else they had. To influence the media, which begun in the 1950s. It was initially organized by Cord Meyer and Alan W. Dulles, and was later led by Frank Wisner after Dulles became the head of the CIA. The organization recruited leading American journalists into a network to help present the CIA's views, and funded some student and cultural organizations and magazines as fronts. All these protests that you see taking place, all of this is CIA, man. The Central is all designed to draw out those rebels, to get them to trust in these different organizations and different protests and different groups, whatnot, to bring them out to the forefront so they can draw them out, man. Okay, and to control the people's what to think, you know, when to think it, when to react, you know, how to react. All this is CIA covert operations, which you can't tell the average numbskull American that, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. The term conspiracy theory came from the same people. The CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, okay? Don't take my word for it, look it up for yourself, you know? But let's go back, see where we were. I can kill that off. All right, so back to, want to finish St. Matthew 24 and 7 again. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences. Watch this, just watch. It's going to be a little taste of it during the holiday season of not being able to get goods and services, with all of these ships that are just sitting out in these waters, not coming into dock, man. All right, look at the price of everything. Prices are going through the roof because of inflation, okay? Meaning the value of the dollars is devalued, okay? Because they're putting more money in circulation with not having anything to back it up, man, okay? So that creates inflation, all right? And earthquakes in diverse places, definitely. Hell, even with the volcano eruptions, check that out, man. All right. Verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay? All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right. Now I want to go back to this, all right, between Somalia and Kenya, all right, which again, I reiterate, Kenya would be the harlot whose son it really was that King Solomon made the decision in this judgment, okay, versus Somalia, they would be the woman or the harlot that was lying. So I'm gonna read the account. I'm gonna try to read it kind of fast for the sake of time, okay. This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 3. And I'm going to read the heading from verse 16. It says, it's talking about King Solomon. It says, he chooses wisdom. Well, that was from verse 6 to 16. He chooses wisdom. Okay, verse 16, his judgment between two harlots. All right, so we're going to get straight into the account. All right, this is 1 Kings 3 and 16. It says, then came there two women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, meaning they live together. All right. And I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. So they both had a son. They each had a son. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. All right. Which is why they say, you know, now, you know, let me see, now you can say that. All right. Because she overlaid it. Matter of fact, let me see something. Because I'm not exactly sure, but I will tell you that the child died. I'm not sure if she overlaid it, meaning meaning she put too much cover on that child, or she wrapped it too much, or if she laid on that child. So let me see. I mean, it's not really that important. You know what? It's really not that important. Let's just get to the point of the story. And if anybody knows specifically, they can put it in the comment section. You know, it's not that important. Okay? The important part is that that son died. All right? So let's not get too deep. Let's just stay. All right, and it says, verse 19 again, 1 Kings 3 and 19, and this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. So she switched them out. So that's what she was telling King Solomon, the judge. All right. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. She knew that wasn't her child. It say, and the other woman said, nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, no, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then said the king, the one said, this is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other said, nay, but the son is the dead, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. Check it out. It say, and the king said, divide the living child in two, which in this case, the United Nations said, all right, let's split it. Now, in this case, Somalia, they was happy about the split. But Kenya was like, they had already withdrew, saying they wasn't going to recognize no judgment because they know it belonged to them. Okay? Which Kenya again will represent the woman that wasn't lying, and Somalia would represent the harlot that was lying. Okay, so King Solomon said, "Bring a sword. I know how to figure this out." It say, and the king said, verse 24, 1 Kings 3 and 24, and the king said, "Bring me the sword." And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, "Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other." Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king. For her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, "Oh my Lord, give her the living child." Because that was her son. That proved it right there. And King Solomon knew it, man. Okay? Through the wisdom that was imparted to him by Yahawashi, man. Okay? The Most High imparted him wisdom because that's what he wanted. Okay? Which go back and read the whole account. Alright? It's good to know. It says, then spake the verse 26, 1 Kings 3 and 26. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned. All right. Set tripping. Put these bad boys on. Do that every time. Getting old, y'all. All right. I don't know what that word means. Her bowels yearned upon her son. And in the margin, it says, it says were hot. All right. So that passion burned in her bowels because, you know, that's her son, man. You don't want to see your child get chopped in half. But somebody that's not their child, they cut them in half. I'll take half. You know, just with, you know, in comparison to this account, all right, between Somalia and Kenya, all right. So when I heard our boy use this in reference to that, I was like, oh man, you know, that's a lesson right there. It say, verse 26, 1 Kings 3 and 26. Then spake the woman whose living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, "Oh my Lord, give her the living child. In no wise slay it. Don't put it to death, please." But the other said, "Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided." Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. He knew right off the rip. Ain't nobody gonna want to see their child get cut in half by any means. Okay? So he knew she wasn't lying. That, okay, she ready for the child to just be given to the other woman as long as that child can live. I know that's her child. Alright? Verse 28, it says, and all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of the heavenly Father was in him to do judgment. Alright? So I mean, that's it. Alright? I'm gonna end it right there. Lord willing, this was edifying. Okay? All praise, honor, and glory. Kal Halal YAHAWAH Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Alright? Double honors to my elder apostles and my elders at Greatmillstone GMS. Peace and blessings unto the elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Hispanics. Alright? And to the brothers and sisters that look like the other nations because we've been scattered. Alright? If this resonates with your spirit, you're Israelite, man. Alright? You believe this to be true, that's the Most High. Wake up. Alright? So with that, it's on to the next one. Until then, I'm going to say Shalom.